There's a lesson I had to learn the hard way, and I mean that in the most literal sense, through real loss, real setbacks, and real moments where I watched something I was building quietly fall apart, not because of my effort, but because of my mouth. Because I talked too soon, because I told the wrong people, because I confused sharing my vision with seeking their validation. And I promise you, if you've ever started something, a business, a plan, a goal, a new version of yourself, and felt that strange deflation after you told someone about it, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. You just haven't named it yet. So let me name it for you today. There is a silent killer of potential that doesn't get talked about enough in the world of personal development and success. It doesn't come from outside of you. It isn't your competition. It isn't the economy. It isn't your background or your resources or your timing. It lives right here in the way most of us communicate our goals before we've done anything to earn the right to speak them out loud. Here's the question I want you to sit with before we go any further, and I genuinely want you to answer this in the comments below. Have you ever shared a goal or a big plan with someone, felt excited in the moment, and then somehow never followed through on it? Because if that's happened to you more than once, there is a reason, and it is not what you think. Drop your experience in the comments. Because I'm telling you, what I'm about to share today is one of those things that once you understand it, you will see it everywhere in yourself, in the people around you, in why some people seem to silently build empires while others loudly announce plans they never complete. Let me give you a fact that floored me when I first came across it. In 2009, a psychologist at New York University named Peter Gollwitzer conducted a series of studies on what happens in the brain when you announce a goal to another person. What he found was extraordinary. When you tell someone about a goal, especially if that person acknowledges it, nods, affirms it, reacts positively, your brain actually registers a version of the achievement, not the real thing, a social simulacrum of success. The recognition center of your brain fires as if a portion of the goal has already been completed. And here's the devastating part. That premature sense of progress reduces the drive you actually need to do the work. Read that again. By talking about what you're going to do, you literally reduce your hunger to do it. This isn't a theory. It's been replicated across multiple studies in behavioral psychology. And yet every single day, people do the opposite. They announce on social media. They tell their friends at dinner. They broadcast their plans the moment the idea arrives, riding the dopamine of excitement before the first brick has been laid. And most of those things, they never get built. I'm not saying this to shame anyone. I've done it. I've been the guy at the table who spent more time talking about what I was going to build than building it. And the pattern was always the same. Talk loudly, act quietly. The announcement replaced the action. Now I want to get into something deeper than the psychology. I want to talk about the social dimension of this, because there's a second layer to why telling people what you're doing is dangerous, and it has nothing to do with your own brain chemistry. It has to do with other people. Most people in your life, and I say this without cruelty because it's true for every circle, are operating from their own fear, their own limitations, their own settled sense of what is possible. That's not a character flaw. That's what it means to be human. But when you show up in front of people who have already decided what they believe life can deliver, and you announce that you are going for something beyond that settled vision, you trigger something in them. Not hatred, not malice, just doubt. And doubt, when it's spoken by someone you love or respect or trust, has a weight that can bend the trajectory of a dream. Think about who you've told your goals to. Think about the reactions you received. I'd wager that for every person who genuinely lit up with excitement and challenged you to go further, there were 3 who offered a quiet skepticism dressed as concern. Are you sure that's realistic? Have you thought about the risk? I'm just worried about you. These people aren't your enemies, but they are not the fuel your fire needs. And if you're early in the process, if your confidence is still forming, if your plan is still taking shape, their words can get into the foundation of what you're building and crack it before the structure even goes up. This is why silence is not a weakness. Silence is a strategy. Let me talk about the people I study. The builders, the achievers, the quietly extraordinary individuals who create things that genuinely change the landscape of their industry, their community, or their own life. And I want to tell you about a pattern I've noticed across every single one of them, without exception. They don't tell people what they're doing. They show people what they've done. That distinction is everything. Notice what shifts when you operate that way. Instead of seeking premature validation, you seek results. Instead of building enthusiasm through words, you build proof through action. Instead of inviting other people's opinions into the formation stage of your vision when it's fragile, when it's incomplete, when it still needs your uninterrupted belief, you protect it, you keep it close, you feed it with work, not words. There is a reason the most transformative figures in history across business, science, art, athletics often spoke very little about what they were working on until it was already done. Steve Jobs was famously secretive about Apple products, not just for competitive strategy, but because he understood something primal. An idea revealed too early loses its charge. Nikola Tesla worked in isolation for years on concepts his contemporaries thought were fantasy, and he didn't try to convince them. He worked, he built, he proved. The proof was the conversation. I'm not saying become a recluse. I'm saying become intentional about who gets access to your unfinished story. Here's something that might surprise you. Silence actually makes you more powerful in the room. There is a social dynamic that most people miss, because most of us have been conditioned by school, by social media, by the performance culture of our time to equate visibility with value. We think that if people don't know what we're working on, we're not being seen, and not being seen feels dangerous. But here's what actually happens when you stop announcing and start delivering. When you quietly work and then show up with results, a business that's already running, a body that's already transformed, a skill that's already developed, people don't just respect it. They are magnetized by it. There is a quality of mystery around someone who builds without broadcasting that draws people in rather than pushing them to form premature opinions. Think about the people in your own life who you find most compelling. I'd bet they're not the ones who talked the most about what they were going to do. They're the ones who surprised you with what they had already done. That surprise, that, wait, when did you do all of that, is the result of deliberate silence. And it is powerful beyond what words alone can achieve. I want to address the counter-argument because it's real and it deserves a straight answer. Some people will say, but accountability works. Telling people your goals holds you accountable. And there is truth in that, but only under very specific conditions. The research shows that accountability works when it is attached to a structured relationship with someone who will genuinely hold you to a standard, check in, push back, and measure your progress against real metrics. That is not the same as announcing your goal to 14 people at a party. That is not the same as posting your intentions on social media for the dopamine hit of likes and comments. That kind of social announcement doesn't create accountability. It creates the illusion of accountability while delivering all the reward without any of the work. Real accountability is private, specific, and has teeth. It involves one person, maybe two, who are invested in your growth and will ask you hard questions when you haven't delivered. That is a tool used with surgical precision. The mistake is confusing that targeted tool with the scattershot announcement of your ambitions to anyone who will listen. If you need accountability, build a relationship with someone whose opinion genuinely challenges you. Don't broadcast your goals to an audience. That's performance, not progress. There's a version of this that goes even deeper, and it's about identity. I've talked before about how identity drives behavior. And I want to bring that lens here because it illuminates something critical about why telling people what you do before you've actually done it is an identity trap. When you announce a goal, people around you begin to respond to you as if you are that thing. And because humans are deeply social creatures who read the room and adjust their behavior based on how they're being perceived, you start playing a role. You become the person who is starting a business or writing a book or training for a marathon. And the danger is that the identity of being the person doing the thing begins to substitute for actually doing the thing. You know this person. You might have been this person. The one who introduces themselves as an entrepreneur before the business has made $1. The one who says they're an author while the manuscript doesn't exist. The one who calls themselves an investor while they've never made a single investment. The label gets ahead of the behavior. And when that happens, the behavior often stops because on some level, the identity the need to be seen as that person has already been met. Real identity comes from action. It comes from the accumulation of actual choices, behaviors, and results over time. It is not claimed through language. It is built through labor. And the most powerful identity you can have is the one that your track record builds for you, not the one you declare in advance. Let me bring this to the practical level because I don't want this to be another video that leaves you with a mindset shift and no idea what to do with it. The first move is this: audit your mouth. For the next 30 days, every time you feel the impulse to tell someone about something you're working on, pause. Ask yourself, am I sharing this because it will make the work better? Or am I sharing this because I want to feel the emotional reward of their reaction? That single question, asked honestly, will reveal more about your relationship with your own goals than a year of journaling. Second, find one person, not many, one who you can share your real work with, someone who will push you harder, not validate you softer. That relationship is worth more than 1,000 public announcements. Protect that relationship, be honest in it. Use it for accountability, not performance. Third, let your results speak first. The next time you achieve something, even something small, resist the urge to announce it before you've sat with it yourself. Give yourself the experience of knowing something is done before the world does. You will find that the private satisfaction of genuine achievement is more powerful than any external validation you've ever received. And over time, that internal reward system will become the engine that drives you rather than the constant need for outside approval. There's a phrase I come back to often, and it captures all of this in 8 words. Move in silence. Let your success make the noise. I know that sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster, and maybe you have. But strip away the aesthetic and sit with the actual instruction, because if you apply it, really apply it, not as a concept but as a daily operational decision, you will find that your goals start surviving longer. Your plans develop further. Your follow-through deepens. And your results begin to compel rather than just impress. Because here's the final truth I want to leave you with. The world responds to evidence, not intention. People can debate your intentions. They cannot debate your evidence. When your work is done and it speaks for itself, when you walk into a room carrying the weight of something actually built, no one needs to be told what you do. They can see it, feel it. And that kind of presence, the presence built in silence through real labor and real results, is the kind that lasts. So stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned the right to see your unfinished work. Stop performing the journey and start making it. Let the people who need to know find out when the knowing matters, when the thing is done, when it's real, when it's undeniable. That's when you get to talk. If this landed for you, if you've ever felt the sting of a goal that died in the mouth before it was ever born in the world, tell me about it in the comments below. I read them. And if you want to keep going deeper on this, subscribe and stay close, because this conversation is just beginning. Now go do the work. Quietly,